Hey there. I'm going to make this quick. A lot of this I'm going to cover in a longer and more comprehensive video, but here I wanted to look at some of the logistics of what went down in Kenosha and offer my opinion. And in my professional opinion, the cops who were involved in the shooting of Jacob Blake are spineless cowards, terrible police, and unfit for duty. So, as I stated before, I'm going to go into greater detail about my background in upcoming videos, but long story short, I've worked in various forms of physical security for over 10 years. I've had to restrain combative individuals, including ones brandishing sharp objects, with my bare hands. I've been trained by ex-cops, ex-military, and federal law enforcement personnel. Oftentimes, when criticizing police brutality, there are those who back the blue, who like to challenge you to perform the oh-so-dangerous job of police work before having the gall to pass judgment. Well, I'm here to say that I don't actually need to do that. I really don't. I don't even need to call upon my professional training, be it with firearms, conflict de-escalation, or advanced active restraint techniques. The officers involved aren't qualified to be cops. They're barely qualified to be crossing guards. See, I worked as a bouncer for 7 years, and I've ran security at the rowdiest nightclubs in my town. And those cops aren't even qualified to man the door at the friendliest clubs I've worked at. I've done everything from EDM parties to biker bars, and having dealt with burly bikers swinging whiskey bottles at me, I can say that I wouldn't even hire them to handle the spindly teenagers on Molly. And you know what? This time around, in order to make my point, I won't even dispute the account of events as laid out by the police. I know, it's cringe, but stick with me. The police and their beloved boot leather aficionados are going for the gold in mental gymnastics, trying to justify this shooting. So, they say he had a knife in his hand. Fine. They say he had drugs in his system. Fine. They say that he was tasered and it failed to stop him. Fine. They say he ignored multiple commands to stop. I checked, by the way, and the penal code and resisting arrest doesn't carry the death penalty, but fine. They say that he announced he had a gun in the car. Fine. They say that he opened the door of the car to retrieve a gun to initiate a gunfight with his young children sitting 3 feet away. Okay, fine. So their excuse for opening fire is that the three officers involved couldn't stop one person from getting to his vehicle when they suspected he had drugs in his system, resisted the taser, and announced that he was retrieving a gun. And their only course of action was to let the suspect, that they assumed to be armed and dangerous, casually walk away from them towards his car to retrieve his weapon before shooting him in the back 7 times. Cowardice. This is pure cowardice and fear. Ask anyone who's worked at a mental health facility if 3 people can safely restrain and disarm an unstable patient without shooting them. I don't need to be a cop to tell you that this situation was poorly handled, and it was poorly handled by cowards. As a former bouncer, I refuse to believe that 3 supposedly able-bodied peace officers are incapable of physically restraining one person. Knife or no knife. Split it up. One goes for the legs, the other go for the torso. For God's sake, he had his back turned. Haven't you ever played tackle football? It's a blindside tackle. Lower your level, wrap around the waist, and drive through the hips. Easy. Oh, by the way, do you know who else has to physically restrain combative individuals armed with sharp objects and they don't have the option of using a firearm? Federal prison guards. Seriously, guards stationed inside of the facilities on patrol don't carry firearms. They have to handle their business with pepper spray and numbers, because it is too dangerous for them to bring live ammunition into that environment. Heck, forget the adults. What would they do if they were in an elementary school and a child was running with scissors? Teachers aren't allowed to shoot their students, and they have to deal with this all of the time. But, history has shown that the police are not hesitant to visit brutality upon children, even if it's just to win a fight. Now that I've finished my thought experiment, I don't believe that Jacob should have even been stopped, as he hadn't committed a crime. Also, the prison system in America is a cruel and inhumane institution, and prison guards often perform heinous acts of brutality on inmates with little to no recourse. Again, I'll say it. Cowardice. There's a sick fear of some hidden black strength that positively frightens cops. They've dehumanized the black man in their mind to the point where he no longer qualifies as a person, but as a cornered animal with some superhuman capacity for violence. They also project this default malice onto every black suspect. They assumed that a man who didn't want to be arrested and tasered by the police for the crime of taking a nap in a parking lot was an immediate threat to society. He ran away from police, carrying the taser that they had attempted to assault him with, and the police, fearing some nebulous future great violence that he would commit, had all the justification they needed to shoot him in the back, killing him. I am a large man. I'm 6'6", and I clock in well over 300 pounds. I am larger than the majority of adult men. Growing up, the unfortunate truth is my parents had to hammer in me the importance of being civil in all public settings, no matter what, no matter who's at fault, never raise my voice, never become visibly agitated, never sound off out of emotion, because being large, black, and loud in public is a good way to bring the full force of law enforcement down on my shoulders. I've never had the luxury of a public mental health crisis, and please understand, I don't say this to be ableist. I say this to point out that black men who struggle with mental illness do not get care, they do not get crisis lines, and they do not get mental health response teams. They get a cage or a coffin. The unwritten expectation of our society is that I have to maintain model civility, suppress my masculinity, and never show aggression. All the while, white men absolutely lose their minds and go on testosterone-fueled freakouts on the regular. So Jacob Blake, father of 3, was paralyzed because 3 yellow-bellied officers couldn't follow their training. And make no mistake, this wasn't a failure of the training. Every police officer in this country is taught how to restrain non-compliant suspects. But if they are never, ever held accountable, they have no reason to bother and will take the easier route of using lethal force every time. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Follow me on Twitch. I also have a Twitter, and if you are so inclined, I do have a Patreon. Thanks again.